This is Roger Struckoff with Syscon TV. It's still day one. Javits Center in New York, June 2017 at CloudEXPO. We're joined right now by David Gildeh with Outlyer. He's originally from London. He's based in San Francisco now. Doesn't really matter. What matters is what they do. So tell everyone why you're here and what you do. I think it has something to do with monitoring. I think it has something to do with the cloud.
Yes. So basically we're a monitoring company. We work with big companies like Salesforce and BBC and quite a few other big logos. And essentially we provide monitoring for their infrastructure, their cloud services. We fit very much into the kind of DevOps world. We're a tool designed for DevOps, for microservices, and all the kind of new architectures and development processes that people are doing to build their software services. So we're a monitoring tool for that. We basically can get set up in a few minutes, but we go way beyond that. What we're really good at is we're very good at customization. So a lot of architectures are quite complex. A lot of monitoring out of the box is not good enough. So we provide a very agile platform for creating custom integrations where you can basically monitor pretty much anything you can think of on our platform.
They ain't going to get there. They're not going to get there without this sort of monitoring, right, to DevOps?
No, so I mean the reason we started it, because there are lots of monitoring companies out there. We started back in 2013. I'm one of the founders. The kind of original problem was, when you build this stuff in-house, most people use this stack called Nagios Graphite StatsD. It takes about 6 months to kind of piece together and build customizations, make it work with cloud and all this kind of stuff. So, there's a lot of investment to kind of build this in-house, especially now with containers and the number of metrics is going up exponentially. So it's becoming a much harder problem for people to build in-house. So that's one of the problems. But then once you get to the value where you actually have monitoring in place, like the real value for me, why I got excited about monitoring was we were working for a open source company that was had an engineering team that was used to building on-premise software. And I was director of cloud services. I was building an enterprise cloud business, and we were trying to transform the culture from an on-premise engineering culture to a kind of DevOps culture, where we were trying to get the developers to care about their code in production, respond to issues in production, and help us like resolve incidents and things like that. And it was hard to do until we had monitoring. And then with monitoring, being able to just show them what was happening in production with a graph and have more of a data-driven conversation versus a opinion-based conversation, we were able to change those developers around to essentially, empowering them to kind of live in that DevOps culture, understand what's happening with their code in production.
I think the DevOps culture term, so a few years ago, it was about 2013 here that we first started putting DevOps in the program. And it was like a religion or a cult, and so we kind of stuck them in these rooms. We had their own, we told them that, you got your own tracks. That was just kind of get them out of the way, let them gather and have their political debates. Well, it turned out it was a lot more important than that. Yep. And now, we don't really have the separate DevOps tracks because DevOps sort of suffuses the program and all of the tracks, and the building of the DevOps culture seems to be understood. The debate, there's no more debate, and it's no more like, oh, here come the DevOps guys, and that's what it looks like to me.
Well, yeah, and actually one of the things that I started back in London, we did a meetup group called Devops Exchange London. It's now got 5,300 members in it. We have about 200 people come every month to our meetups, and we're doing the same thing now in San Francisco. So, one of the things I remember, that started just at the beginning of 2014. You had a lot of people talking about what is DevOps and all this kind of stuff. That's completely gone now. It's now just accepted. Everyone's doing DevOps, so they understand DevOps, and now we just talk about the architectures. More people are moving now on to containers and microservices.
So the early days, DevOps was actually about 90% dev and 10% ops, and those 10% were usually former dev people or the rare enlightened ones, but it's not like that anymore, is it?
No. I think most of the people I know and the most people we work with, and we sell to DevOps as well, they're operations people who've basically become DevOps people building platforms and stuff. And I think the reason is because if they don't, their job's kind of extinct. You can't be a sysadmin anymore just managing a few servers and stuff like that. If you really want to stay where the industry's going, you have to retrain, you have to be good at scripting, automation, setting up monitoring, all those kind of things. These are key skills now for an operations person.
A lot of people understand that. The ones that weren't the program left, went through attrition or something. Now, so DevOps culture kind of is like enterprise. I mean, it almost is like modern enterprise IT culture, maybe.
I think the enterprises are adopting it. I still have calls with massive big companies, Fortune 100 companies, where they're still on their kind of journey to kind of enabling DevOps.
Yeah. Let me rephrase that. We're moving in that direction.
Yeah.
Everyone's preaching that. Everyone's saying that. And now it's time to make that a reality, I guess.
Yeah. I think the technology enabled the kind of DevOps culture. The fact you have cloud now, programmable infrastructure where you can just spin up things using automation and scripts. That kind of was step one. And since kind of AWS kind of took hold, I think that's really what kind of drove the whole DevOps kind of revolution. And now, I think, to be honest, companies are now looking at it as very strategic. I mean, this is the thing, like, why are people doing containers? Why are people doing DevOps? Why are people doing microservices, all this kind of stuff? They're basically trying to do agility at scale. They're trying to compete against the big companies like the Amazons that are doing 20,000 releases a day and continuously improving and iterating their products. And, you know, the other big companies like Walmart and all that kind of stuff, they have to compete against us. You know, they need to be agile, they need to be iterative, and you can only really do that with DevOps.
That's one of the ironies I've seen. There's like this big shift to Global 2000 enterprises. So in the old days being even a few years ago, you know, you do a startup because you're more agile, and they used to say the best thing you can have is a big stupid competitor. But now, like, these big guys are getting very agile and scary.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like all the leading companies today, all the ones that are taking over the world with software eating the world, like the Ubers and the Amazons and stuff like that, they're all software companies, and they all use DevOps and microservices, containers to basically build their software faster than their competitors.
At scale. How do people find you online, Twitter, wherever? How are they going to find your company? They can read your shirt, for one thing, and where should they go?
So basically, if you just go to Outlyer.com, very easy to find us, Outlyer with a Y. We have the Meetup Groups, like I said, on Meetup.com. We have blogs, we have, you know, all the social media channels. But Outlyer.com is where you'll find us. You can sign up for a 2-week trial, very simple. It's very simple to set up. You can try out the product, and if you like it, you can go from there.
Beautiful. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. For SysCon TV, this is Roger Struckhoff.